And good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Ghost of Bacon podcast. I'm your host, Jake Roberts. And looking at our chat, I see all of my favorite names popping up here. Great to see you all. Um, Carolyn, Barbara, Z. And Z, I just got your text. I've been talking to people in both of those streams. Not really sure. It's kind of weird, gang. On the Ghosts of Bacon YouTube page, there were two streams that were popping up, and not really sure why. But either one apparently is a portal to watch this live. So, um, Sister Penny's in the house. There's Tao is here. David, Lonnie, good to see you. Tom Burns, my friend, good to see you. Barbara, I think I already shouted out to you. Mad Sally, I love that name. Ray. So tonight I wanted to talk about originally Super Pseudo Fast. That's another great name. Jose, welcome. Tommy, I saw you in here as well. Patty's in the house. Good to see you, Patty. Originally, this show was going to be about a little adventure that my sister Penny, who was in the chat tonight, and myself were going to take. Patty couldn't go. And it involves this book. Let me show it here. There's treasure inside. And I don't know if you're aware, but the author of it, Jon Collins-Black, has actually secreted away 5 different treasure boxes. And they're all constructed as metal boxes made of brass, stainless steel, and they're Japanese puzzle boxes. So there's a trick to opening them, which is really cool. And inside of each one, he has put hundreds of thousands of dollars of treasure. 5 of them, and there is one that has the lion's share of treasure in it. It's the big one. And by reading the book, you're supposed to be able to pick out the clues, and then go and if you are he spread them out all across. He didn't want to do just like a single box, a single treasure, because he wanted people all across the country to be able to have access and be close enough to go find one of them, which I think is pretty cool. Oh, Brent. Oh, Barbara, you got the book. Good. So, hey, Deborah, good morning in Australia. It's evening here. Glad you could join us. So, looking at this book, I thought I had figured out where one of the where one of these puzzle boxes was, and where one of the treasures was, and so, I was basically last week planning on making a trip to West Virginia to a national park there, where I believed it was, and Christy, my girlfriend, in her infinite wisdom. Well, thank God she's out of the room. She didn't hear me say that she's wise. Never hear the end of that one. Said, please don't go alone. I don't want you to go alone, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, well, my sister Penny and Pat sisters are both retired. And I texted them. I said, hey, you guys want to go on a treasure hunt? Patty couldn't go. She wasn't feeling well. Hope you're feeling better now, Pay. And Penny says, I'm in. Of course. She's always, willing to play along with my stupid reindeer games here. And so we were going to, oh, it's your home state, Karen. That's great. Carolyn, doesn't it though? It really does sound like a great topic for Expedition Unknown. No, it wasn't, David, but that would be a genius way to hide something, wouldn't it? And so Penny and I were going to go on an adventure, and as I was reviewing it, I was reviewing all my material, and I started doing some background research. I already done some, but I went to the his website, and one of the clues that I was using, and all of you know why I would be doing this because of what I do in this show. I always see mistakes as being clues, particularly when it comes to things of this nature, puzzles and so on, and ciphers. And so, I had, actually made an entire list of all of the typos in the book, and I listed them in the back cover. Um, and one of the things that, you know, I found, I'm like, well, a lot of the clues are indicating this one location. And so I kind of did a little deep dive on it. And what I did, this one place keeps coming up. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is where it is. And there's a picture that goes along with it. I'm like, well, this could be the waterfall there. And so, and the more digging I did, I go to his website, and in the frequently asked questions section, someone had asked the question about typos and misspellings. And he said, well, I didn't do any of those on purpose. And here's the caveat all of a sudden. And this is where I kind of hit the brakes on everything. I discovered I'd been following a bunch of um, false clues, and I was like, oh, geez, this is not good for Penny and I would have a great time, checking out this national park for sure. We always have fun together, but um, don't worry, Tao, I'm not mentioning any locations because that one is completely wrong. So it's fine saying that particular one. But at the end of the day, the more I dug into this, the more I realized it's going to be more difficult to find any of these treasures than I had anticipated. Because, here I'm thinking, I'm, doing, this Oak Island research. I'm doing my own research, and my friend Bill Smith and I are my brother from another mother. He and I have been like comparing notes and actually tracking down the pirate Peter Easton to, just go find, evidence that he had been in some of the locations that we know about. And so we thought, I thought that, oh, geez, solving puzzles in a book is going to be pretty easy for me. And, that was, what was the name of that little book that, The Secret, I think it was. And it's been a treasure hunt that's been going on since the 80s. He did a similar thing, and he left these little jars, I guess you would say, these around different areas to get people to look for them. And so, but this one, it actually has a big cash prize, so it really caught my interest. I want to go find treasure. And so the more I looked into this, the more I realized I'm like, this is going to be harder than I thought. And the reason being is that, one of the critics of the book brought up some very, very good points. And his name escapes me at the moment, but when someone creates a puzzle or a game like this, it has to go through a vetting process, right? And this is what really struck me when I was reading the frequently asked questions on the Jon Collins website. I'm going to go ahead and put it up here. I'll just show you. Here it is. And so this is the largest national treasure hunt in history. And it really is. There's tons of treasure out there that he has placed around. And I went to here, frequently asked questions, and you have this whole list of questions. And I love this. People ask, where are the treasure boxes? It's like, yeah, they're around there. They're around. He said recently some have inquired if one of my boxes I call the Forest Fen. If you're not familiar with Forest Fen, we'll talk about that in a second too, is hidden in Yellowstone National Park. The treasure box is not hidden in Yellowstone. This treasure is somewhere in New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, or Montana. Thanks for narrowing it down, John. And none of them have been found. And my book copy has typos. Are these clues? And this was his long answer. And he actually states, he actually goes through and talks about some of the mistakes that were there. But he also says, in short, I'm going to just highlight this right here. I did not misspell any words, abbreviations, or proper nouns in my book intentionally, nor did I state any incorrect dates or ages on purpose. So there it is. It's like a lot of the clues that I was, zeroing in on were fake clues. So that's a no go. So unfortunately, I had to, text Penny and say, "Hey, sorry, sorry, Pen, our trip's off for now, but we to be continued," as she said. Um, and Z is saying the Wyoming one was found, although he hasn't formally announced that. That's good to know, Z. Um, the Forrest Fenn treasure was something completely different. And this was a different guy who placed one treasure in the Rockies. So I'm waiting to see more on that, Z. And here's the cool thing. Tao is asking, is it gold, silver, precious stones, or money coins? It's all of the above. One of the boxes even has like uh, very, very rare, uh, perfect mint condition Pokemon card. Uh, there's a physical Bitcoin with five of Bitcoin codes on it, worth a lot of money, whatever Bitcoin's worth right now. So things like that. He tried to appeal to the imaginations of the interests of everyone. For me personally, I would find any of them to be fascinating, just because I really want that physical Japanese puzzle box. So I think that's cool. So yeah, the big thing here is that I learned doing a deep dive on this is that um, when I read his answer to "Are the typos clues?" and he said that he had very few people actually review the manuscript because he didn't want the information out there a lot. That raised a red flag to me. And because with something like this, when you create a game, and this is a part of my when I went to college for my master's degree. When you're creating a system in a game, for example, you have to have other people vet it, test it out, see if it's understandable, see if it's solvable, those kinds of things. And that hasn't been done with any of these in this book, as far as I know. He basically said, "No, I kept it secret." I went to an interview of his. Let's see. I'm going to go to that page next. Let's go. Let's do that. Let me show you that on this. And where is it here? So this is just an image of there's a gold medal from the 1996 Atlanta Olympics, stuff like that. It's just really, really cool stuff that he has collected. There's a brooch that was owned by Jackie Kennedy Onassis, which I think is cool. They're trying to look for, there was a couple of different places where he had done interviews too. And one of them was a place called History for Weirdos, which immediately got my attention because why not? I'm a weirdo. I like history, obviously. That's why I do this podcast. And so, I click on it and I started watching his interview with them. And it was really pretty interesting. I think this is it here. There's their YouTube channel, History for Weirdos, Andrew and Stephanie. So, I go there and watch his interview, and he says, "Oh no," he says, "I kept it secret. My wife and I, we love doing escape rooms and puzzles and things like that." He said, so this was a natural thing for him to do. But the problem is that, he didn't have anyone checking him, right? Is this solvable? Is this doable? And this is something you have to have. And so I think it's going to take a very long time to solve this. So, and the other thing too is, you really have to understand who this guy is, I think, as a person and what his interests are, before you really kind of get into this, because, coming at things the way I do, using logic and facts and looking at the clues and piecing things together logically might not work. And that's what I discovered with this last case. So suddenly, I realized, time to pump the brakes. Sorry, Penny, I got it wrong. Because originally when I posted a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, oh gosh, this could be really fun. We're going to go down there. We're going to look around. Maybe we'll find it, and that would be an amazing podcast, but maybe we won't, but I'll still come back, and Penny and I'll have a great story to tell here on the show. That was my plan. Sorry, Pen. And, but yeah, the more I looked into it, the more I realized, okay, so this is not going to play by the rules that I'm familiar with. So, and then I looked into it more, and there's actually a guy who has a podcast who talked about this very same topic, that he didn't go through the standard operating procedure of creating a game and puzzles, so therefore it's going to be really tough to solve, because things that seem obvious to him won't seem obvious to the rest of us. And that's exactly it, David. This is exactly what I'm saying. You encapsulate it perfectly. The person's personality will create the prism of seeing what he is thinking. 100%. And that true, the environment too, and therefore help understand what rules he is setting up. Exactly. So, that's what, I started going into. The Quarter Hoarder interview with him was excellent, and the interview has an update at the beginning. Very cool. I haven't seen that interview yet, but I'm going to check it out. Thanks, Z. So yeah, this is something I've just been kind of like, when I read for pleasure, that's the kind of weird stuff I kind of get into. And so that's what I've been looking at while I'm working on my next book, which I think I'm going to give a preview of here in a couple of weeks, maybe 4, around after Thanksgiving. But anyway, the other thing too is, History for Weirdos. I watched a couple of their podcasts, and this one actually caught my interest. Let me put it up here. Boop. And boop. The Mystery of Oak Island. And
welcome back, weirdos, to another historical mysteries episode.
Let's go, baby.
We do.
So, you kind of get a taste of this couple, and they're super cute, young 30-somethings, and as I watched them kind of do this podcast, I watched a couple of their episodes, and I want to say that it's something that it's a concept for a podcast that I absolutely love. I love the title also. The other thing is that the episode about Oak Island, they asked for feedback from people who are familiar with the show, that kind of a thing. So I emailed them, and I haven't heard back. This was last week, I think, or before the weekend, Friday, I think it was. Just to answer a couple of the questions that they brought up during their podcast that I happened to have the answers to, and I told them. One of the things that they did, though, that was, it seems to me that if you're going to do a pod, and I get it, because when I do this show, it's largely unscripted. If I have a slideshow in front of me, I have an outline to follow, right? And that's what I do. I just, and it's from there, it's extemporaneous. The words just kind of like come out like verbal diarrhea. But I do try to do my due diligence. If there's, a French pronunciation and I murder it, which I usually do, or a Latin pronunciation, I just do the best I can. But when it comes to like people's names and things like that, I make sure that, I do my due diligence and try to get it right. And when they said that Rick and Marty when they were giving that they were the current owners of the island and in charge of the current, and they said their name was Legina, which was an unfortunate name because obviously they were referencing that they believed it rhymed with vagina. I was like, really? That kind of, struck a nerve with me because, I mean, you're making fun of people I like. And so there were certain aspects of it that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And so I emailed them and I thought cordially, kind of set them straight. But um, at the end of the day, um, I like the concept and I like what you guys are doing over there, but uh, you know, let's try to get it right when it comes to those kinds of things. Haven't you done the same with Bacon? David is asking, learning who he is to understand what he is up to. 100%, David. Yeah. And with him, it's easy for me because, he follows the rules of logic, right? He tells you right up front, that he prefers inductive reasoning, and knowing what inductive reasoning is, you use that as the structure, right, to follow his clues. And one clue leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to the next. In my next book, I think you're going to see really great examples of that. I'm super excited about it. It's going to be my be all end all Oak Island book, and then I'm going to put a bow on it and be done. And I think at this point, I want to say at least a third of the way through. I'm trying to be done by January, and I'm really happy to say that I think it's by far my best book. Even though it's heavy in the decryptions, gang, and I apologize about that in advance. I try to do it in a way that actually creates suspense. So instead of finding, the decryptions in the context words first and then building around it, what I'm trying to do in a couple of the chapters is present the messages in the order that the words should be in the sentence, right? So I kind of start you out with the beginning of the sentence and I show you where the words are, so that, as the sentences form, your mind starts to already go there and you begin to expect and think about what's coming next. So it creates a bit of anticipation. So I'm hoping that it works well in terms of the way I've framed it. Yeah, Penny, that was kind of my thought too, but I didn't want to say it that way. Oh, Barbara. Yeah, 100%. Talking about forensic psychology. Yep. Necessary in history. And that's the problem with history is that there's so much we really don't know factually speaking. And I'm saying this now, coming at this from the angle that I've learned everything. There's so much we don't know that you really need to do that in order to, create a profile of those people we're studying. So it's so true. That's really nice of you to say, Tao, but we'll see. Well, that's true. That's yeah. Let's see, Betty girl. Are you talking about my screen? I think it's just an artifact of my my ring light. I couldn't get the lighting real good, get it set correctly tonight. So, oh, thanks, Adam. Adam Thomas in the house. You're going to be one of the first people who sees it, obviously. Tom, you're a genius. an evil genius, but a genius. Fun fact, if you click on both links on YouTube, you can give me two thumbs up. Just saying. That would be fantastic if all of you could do that. I never, kind of promote the show that way, and I always forget to say, please hit the like button. Please give me a thumbs up. Please, follow me here on YouTube. So, thanks, Tom. Appreciate that. Well, Rocky, you know what? I'm hoping you're talking about me, my friend. Yeah, Barbara, that's just it. No matter how you come to, these studies, what happens is uh, you learn very quickly. The more you learn about a very specific area, even like astrology, um, you quickly learn how much of this stuff is interrelated, right? And so, in order to learn more about your niche area, you suddenly find yourself learning more and more about the areas that inform it and are surrounding it. And next thing you know, and this is how Francis Bacon has kind of like sucked a lot of us into, this world of the Rosy Cross, which is, he lures us in with these ciphers, and next thing I'm looking at astronomy, I'm looking at artwork, I'm reading, classical literature, which that's my background actually, so it doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is that once you gain an interest, take an interest, and this is something I always try to get my students to do as a teacher, become interested in something, anything. As soon as you gain an interest in something, next thing you know, you're going to look and you really focus on it and really dig down into it. You're going to discover that there are so many other areas that are related to it that in order to really learn more about your focus area, you have to learn all this other stuff too. So in that way, it's just really, really, inspiring. It's a lot of fun. So let's see. Tao says, just so I understand this right, that couple are the ones who buried and stuff. No, they were interviewing the guy who did it, and that's how I stumbled upon their podcast. How the guy who did it, his name is Jon Collins-Black, and they did an interview on their podcast with him, and that's how I discovered them as well, and started checking out their a few of their podcasts. So. And Z is pointing out, Adam and I have discovered separately that they can switch back and forth with words in other languages. Z, he does that all the time in the ciphertext. I discovered that in my first book, and I highlighted it in my second. You have to be on top of, and here's the problem. It's kind of like a double-edged sword for me because I considered it to be a benefit to not know a lot of French or Latin or any Hebrew. And so when constructions would appear within the transposition cipher tables, for example, that I was decrypting from Francis Bacon, and I came across a construction, I'm like, that reminds me of a word, the root word of such and such, and it was Latin. And I would look it up, and sure enough, it was a Latin word that meant, something very specific to the context of the message. So my ignorance of those languages actually acted as corroboration because I wasn't cherry picking the evidence of these words. Instead, I was actually just seeing what's there, and the meaning comes out. My friend David's saying, hey, what if after your book, you launch a similar podcast which makes up a treasure hunt by a corroboration of by members who could even donate items for the treasure? That could be a lot of fun, David. That could be a lot of fun, actually. And I'm not sharing too much information, but FYI, Bill Smith and I already had that idea, and if you want to be involved, we'll rope you in. But we have a few ideas on the back burner right now of exactly how we're going to do that. Thank you, Tao. I appreciate it. The more likes I get, the better it is. Let's see. So I think it was Ray asked the question, what language is Z? Z is, she's found Spanish, French, Italian, and even Scottish words. These are the languages I know best. Yeah, he used in the Champlain materials, he uses French, some Spanish, and Italian. Or I'm sorry, Latin, more than anything, along with English. So, oi, indeed, my friend. Oi, indeed. That island keeps sucking me back in. Oh, there's my friend Jeff Freeman in the house. Good to see you, buddy. Oh, I see what's going on. Yep, Matty Girl. Thought it might have been a filter. The second stream is in portrait. Yeah, this is a new setting in StreamYard that I clicked on it thinking that if people were watching on their phones, they could watch it in that mode. I didn't realize it was going to set out two different streams. So thank you for answering that. I was trying to figure out why that was going on, but so if you're watching on your phone and it doesn't look right, go to the other stream. It'll probably look better for you. Thanks for that, Rachel. All right. Yeah, Adam, Latin is all over the world. And that's just it, Tao. It's like I used to use a Latin translator and Greek translator from Notre Dame College. It was a little clunky the way the interface was set up, but it was really, really accurate. I wish I could say the same for Google Translate, but it's, what's there. That's right, Barbara. Whatever you do, don't cross the streams. So, anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. It's just an aside that there is one of the treasure boxes that we have a line on that it looks like Jeff's got a whole lot of bacon going on over there. He's got it on his phone. He's got it on his TV. You are a glutton for punishment, my friend. Yeah, Z. I do the same. We use several translators. I use several translators for Latin and all of the others because because each of them usually has just like a little different, I guess I would say, bias or a part of their algorithm that makes the decryptions be a little bit different. So, definitely spread the wealth when it comes to these online translators for sure. But anyway, there is one of the treasure boxes that maybe this spring, Mr. Edwards, who is not in the house this evening, I imagine he's watching football. John and I are going to go take a look down near where he lives. I have a line on where one of them might be. And so we're going to go check it out. We'll see what happens. We'll record our mishaps and we'll fill you all in on what we didn't find. All right. We're coming up on 7:37 this evening. And someone had messaged me here on my phone about my book. Yes, my next book is about all of my Oak Island research. I'm taking all of the material, the relevant material from my first book, and incorporating it into everything else I've discovered since then. And so, to that end, um, we're going to be able to. This next book is going to be probably about the same scope, uh, size, and length of my first two books. So, at this point, I'm closing in on close to 300 pages for my Oak Island book. If I was smart, I would do it the way Jim McQuiston does it, and he focuses in on a key element of his research, and he publishes it, right, and then he moves on to the next part. And so he has multiple books, and they're all just wonderful, dynamite stuff. His research is probably beyond parallel as far as I'm concerned. So definitely check his stuff out. But if I was smart, I would have done it that way, and then I'd have multiple books out there. Joe hates me. Not sure why. I meant to click on this one. Z, just don't get arrested for digging in the wrong place. And this is just it, gang, about this book. Okay, so none of these treasures are in dangerous places. Okay, so it's a safe treasure, and you shouldn't have to dig for them. So they're supposed to be just kind of stashed away. What that looks like, I'm not sure, but no need to dig. Oh yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. I'm gonna wrap that up. The last live stream I did, I had John Edwards being co-pilot, and we had Mitchell Adler on. And unfortunately, I don't know if you guys remember, we had some technical difficulties, some glitches while we were recording that show, and we were streaming it. And Mitch kept kind of freezing up and stuff, and the whole file was corrupted on YouTube and never saved. So we're unable to do that, but we will get him back in a better form, and we'll see what happens. Right, Ray. Oh, thanks, man, Sally. Yeah, the next one is going to be probably I'm being very conscientious about how I'm writing this next one for readability purposes, because our Oak Island folks are the mass audience, and they don't get into the heady stuff that people don't mind watching on this podcast. So I'm trying to keep it in a way that's going to appeal to people, and not bog them down in all of the math and all of the stuff. Yeah. Dustin and Deidre are friends, and they are definitely into all of that stuff. They were actually on the Josh Gates show with The Secret. So their theory was by far my favorite. I can't believe they didn't find something when they did it, because it was awesome. Yeah, David, he keeps his books around 140, just under 140 pages. And that's really smart. That's right, Tom. In order to get these treasures here around the U.S., the continental U.S., you don't need to sink any caissons. It is indeed, sis. It's a rain check. We're going to go back out there. We're going to see what we can find for sure. Barbara wants to know when the collaborative book is coming out. We don't have a date on that, Barbara. We've only, at this point, pieced together, an outline and a plan for dissemination. And he's been really, really busy. He just bought a new property, and he's getting that in order. So we'll see what we can do. And Z's yelling at me, please include an index. Z, I'm doing my best. I'm trying to index as I go. And the thing is that it's not easy, but yeah, I plan on having an index in this one for sure. For no other reason than what you said the last time. Just going through the comments. Yeah, Kat. I have a tough time with that. I really do. Uh, I can get things down to a level where 11th graders can understand it, which is probably about a grade 6 at least. So maybe I'm going to do okay. Originally, David, that was going to be the model. But what I realized was that the readability of it is just it looks like a series of bare assertions, and in telling the story of it in the way that I think I parsed out, I think we're going to be okay. But yeah. And are Champlain and Peter Easton your favorite main characters? 100%, Ray. 100%. They are featured prominently throughout the entire thing. Adam, you can count on it. Yeah, David, there is software to make an index. And as Tom says, yeah, that is the way I've been doing it, Tom. So, oh, there he is. John Edwards in the house. Definitely breaking it down. Yeah. And gang, the way it's working in this book is the transposition ciphers, the tables. I'm breaking them down word by word and showing you. I started out with the very first chapter of the tables. What I've done is I highlight and I show the process of, okay, we're focusing on the context words, and here are the words around it that flesh out the message. And it worked really well. But then it occurred to me that it might be more fun for the reader if they were starting to see the sentences form as I went. And then all of a sudden they see where it leads to, well, I don't know, hypothetically speaking, say that a message appears that Walter Raleigh built a castle along the river north of this island, and this island, of course, being Oak Island. I don't know about you, but what does that bring to mind? As another safe base, as he put it. So yeah, lots of things in store, lots of big discoveries, lots of big reveals, even bigger, if that's even possible, than the Champlain and Peter Easton information. It's going to be something. Originally, I didn't think I was going to be going ahead and publishing all of this information. I was going to hold some of it back, but it's all going in, all of it. So, all right, gang. Listen, I just wanted to kind of throw out there, where we're at this point in the year. Kind of a little bit of a lull in the season. Couldn't get out as far as Newfoundland this year, this fall. And so, I decided to read a book, start looking for another treasure over the winter. We'll see what happens. And thanks, Patty. And we'll really, really kind of dig down into this, and we'll see what happens. Thanks, John. And got to answer this question. Yes, I've read Stephanie's next act. It's right here on my shelf. She goes deep, but that's really what I love about her work. She doesn't hold back. She just spells it all out and explains it really well. So, yeah, John, this spring you better be ready to travel, pal. Because, yeah, that's right. Treasure. So, all right, guys. To that end, we've gone a good 45 minutes here, 46, and I'm going to call it quits this evening. But we'll do it again in a couple of weeks. And this time, I hope I have a special guest with us. Yes, and thanks, Patty. Yes, everyone have a great Thanksgiving here in the States. Enjoy your time up there north as well, my friends. And like I said, until next time, gang, we'll be doing this again and in a couple of weeks, and I'll give you more updates. But until next time, take care of everyone. Have a great holiday next week. Eat lots, and don't worry about like fitness or any of those kinds of things. Just eat. Have a great night, people. See you in a couple weeks. Take care.